I'm 28 now, and until last year, I thought I had my life perfectly mapped out. I was engaged to Ethan, 27, the man I believed was my forever. We first met in college, though we barely interacted back then. He was charming, always making people laugh, but we ran in different crowds. Years later, we reconnected at a mutual friends gathering, and something sparked. Our connection grew fast, and soon we were dating. For 4 years, I thought we were building something unbreakable. He proposed during a quiet weekend in the hills, and I felt like the happiest person alive. Our engagement was a big deal. We threw a small party with our closest loved ones. Reluctantly, I invited my aunt and her daughter, Lily, more out of obligation than desire. My aunt and I were never close. She had a knack for putting others down to lift herself and Lily up. Lily, for years my junior, was undeniably pretty, but not the sharpest. Still, my aunt treated her like a princess, always finding absurd ways to compare us. Once, she boasted that Lily's middle school grades outshone my high school ones, as if that held any weight. My academic achievements and college degree never seemed to impress her. Despite our strained bond, I didn't think much of inviting them to the engagement party. Ethan had a way of charming everyone, even my aunt, who gushed over him with remarks like, "What a catch," or "You've struck gold." I brushed it off as her usual theatrics, but in hindsight, her admiration ran deeper. Months later, Ethan and I were knee-deep in wedding planning for the fall. I had enrolled in a summer program abroad, but everything was set, venue booked, guest list finalized, deposits paid. Ethan seemed supportive of my trip, or so I thought. While I was overseas, we stayed in touch through calls and messages. But a few weeks in, something felt wrong. He started dodging calls, citing work or exhaustion. I attributed it to the distance, trusting our bond was solid. As weeks passed, our communication faded further. I checked in worried, but he brushed it off as stress. Then, a week before my program ended, he went silent. No replies to calls, texts, or emails. I feared the worst. Maybe he was hurt or struggling privately. I told myself we'd sort it out when I got home. When I returned, I hurried to my apartment, hoping for answers. Instead, I found my aunt at my door, holding a wedding invitation. She handed it to me with a smirk, announcing Ethan was marrying Lily. I laughed, thinking it was a cruel joke, but her smug expression said otherwise. "This must be tough," she said, her tone dripping with false pity, but love shifts sometimes. I stood frozen as she recounted how Ethan, lonely, while I was away, had fallen for Lily over casual meetups. She spun it like a fairy tale, describing his romantic proposal. Every word cut deeper. Then came the jabs. "It's not Lily's fault he chose her. She's stunning, you know. Maybe you shouldn't have left for that program." She even added, "At least he's still family." I was speechless, tears streaming down my face. I managed a weak get out. She gave a condescending pat, saying, "You'll find someone else, maybe a widower looking for love," before leaving. I collapsed, sobbing, utterly shattered. Ethan had not only betrayed me but with my cousin, and my aunt reveled in my pain. The weeks that followed were a haze. I barely ate or slept, replaying the betrayal endlessly. How had this happened? Ethan offered no explanation, just silence. I thought we were building a future, but he'd chosen Lily, the cousin my aunt always pitted against me. I couldn't face anyone, friends, colleagues, even neighbors. Our engagement had been so public, and now I felt like a fool. My mom, my rock, stayed with me for a week. She didn't push me to talk, just kept me company. We watched terrible shows, ate ice cream straight from the tub, and laughed at the absurdity. She even said, "You escaped a disaster." If he could do this, what kind of partner would he have been? It helped, but when she left, the loneliness returned. Everywhere, our favorite diner, the park where he proposed, reminded me of Ethan. I felt suffocated. I knew I had to leave. I started applying for jobs abroad, a dream I'd shelved for Ethan. Soon, I landed a position in Manchester, UK. It was more than a job, it was a lifeline. I packed up, said goodbye to my mom, and moved, nervous but hopeful. The first weeks were tough, I knew no one and felt isolated. But gradually, I settled in. My coworkers were kind, and I dove into work, taking on extra projects to keep my mind busy. Slowly, the pain eased. Then, months later, my mom called with a bombshell. At a family event, my aunt was boasting about Ethan and Lily's upcoming wedding. But when someone asked about Ethan's job, things unraveled. My mom knew he'd left finance to chase writing, so she stayed quiet. My aunt claimed he was still a financier, but a relative corrected her, saying, "Didn't he quit to write?" My aunt faltered, her face flushed, as she realized she'd tied Lily to someone with no stable income. I laughed so hard I nearly cried. For the first time, I felt a spark of triumph. My aunt had been so enamored with Ethan's charm that she overlooked his reality. Now, she was stuck with a jobless son-in-law, and Lily was working as a receptionist to cover bills. That news lifted me. I'd felt like the loser, but now I saw I'd dodged a bullet. Then came the real kicker, the trust fund. During our engagement, Ethan and I had saved together, with me managing the account. I'd forgotten about it in the chaos. Now, it felt like justice. I transferred it all to my savings. Technically, 20% was his, but after covering his rent, groceries, and dreams for years, I felt entitled. I knew he'd come for it eventually, but I was done being his safety net. They could have each other, but not my money. I settled into Manchester, focusing on work and healing. I rarely thought of Ethan or my family until the holidays stirred things up. Ethan showed up at my mom's house while I stayed in Manchester for peace. My mom said he arrived unannounced, demanding to see me about the trust fund. He accused me of stealing his money. My mom shut him down. If my daughter took anything, she earned it. Ethan ranted, claiming the fund was ours together, but my mom just laughed when she told me. I wasn't surprised, he always played the victim. But showing up after betraying me? That was bold. Did he think he could cheat, marry my cousin, and still expect cash? Post-Christmas, he emailed, sounding desperate. He was behind on rent, facing eviction, and called me spiteful for keeping the money. "You don't know how hard it's been for Lily and me," he wrote, as if I owed them sympathy. I ignored it. Days later, he tried again, this time apologizing for how things ended and admitting he'd hurt me. But the motive was clear. He wanted the cash. He even said, "I thought you'd be kinder, given our past." It was almost comical. Kinder? After everything? No way. I replied once, for my own closure. I told him the fund was gone, calling it repayment for all I'd done for him. Then I blocked him. But it didn't end there. Weeks later, my aunt and Lily showed up at my mom's, furious about the trust fund. My mom, barely containing her amusement, said my aunt claimed I'd ruined Ethan's life, while Lily cried that I'd stolen their future. My mom told them to leave. If Lily's so perfect, why can't she support her husband? My dad, usually silent in family drama, stepped in. He'd had enough. He warned my aunt he'd cut off the financial help he'd given her for years if she didn't stop. If they're struggling, maybe they shouldn't have betrayed my daughter, he said. My aunt, predictably, broke down, claiming she only wanted Lily's happiness and didn't know Ethan was jobless. The irony was delicious. She'd spent years belittling me, only to push Lily into a failing marriage. The fallout continued. My grandparents, who'd let my aunt and Lily live rent-free for years, finally had enough. After learning how my aunt manipulated Ethan, they evicted them. Now, my aunt and Lily share a cramped apartment, barely getting by. Ethan still can't hold a steady job. I won't deny it, knowing they were struggling felt good. They'd caused me so much pain, and now karma was at work. They dragged me back into their mess soon after. My mom called, laughing, saying they'd returned, begging for help. Their landlord was evicting them over 3 months of unpaid rent, and they blamed me. My aunt claimed I'd caused their financial ruin by taking the trust fund. My mom found it hilarious. Your aunt acted like it was her royal court, demanding justice. Lily, meanwhile, was delusional, whining that Ethan promised her a mansion and a perfect life. As if an unemployed writer could deliver that. My dad, fed up, confronted my aunt. "Why did you push Lily into marrying a man who can't provide? You thought stealing my daughter's fiancé was a victory." My aunt tried to dodge, claiming I hid Ethan's job change, but my dad wasn't fooled. He reminded her of her years of tearing me down while propping Lily up. Now you want our help? Forget it. My mom said Lily finally cracked, admitting she feared homelessness. Ethan swore he'd take care of me, but he lied, she sobbed, revealing he didn't even love her anymore. Ethan, meanwhile, blamed Lily for their woes, saying she wasn't pulling her weight, ironic, given her low-paying job was their only income. Their marriage, built on deceit, was crumbling. My aunt even turned on Ethan, claiming she'd warned Lily against him, conveniently forgetting her role in their engagement. My dad kicked them out, telling them never to return. My mom's retelling had me laughing until I cried. Picturing them getting their comeuppance felt like sweet justice. Days later, Ethan emailed again, no longer demanding but pleading. He admitted marrying Lily was a mistake, claiming my aunt pressured him. I see now how much I hurt you, he wrote, lamenting his failed writing career and broken marriage. I wish I could go back. I didn't respond. He made his choices. I wasn't here to fix his regrets. I forwarded the email to my mom with a note, "Karma's working overtime." She replied, "Best belated holiday gift." 2 years on, my life is transformed. Manchester was the best choice I ever made. I love my career, have amazing friends, and am dating again. My boyfriend, Oliver, is kind, loyal, and everything Ethan wasn't. I feel valued and truly happy. As for Ethan, Lily, and my aunt, life hasn't been kind. My grandparents cut my aunt off entirely, tired of her schemes. She and Lily scrape by in their tiny apartment. Lily's stuck in a toxic marriage, with Ethan blaming her for their struggles while she resents his empty promises. Divorce rumors swirl, according to family gossip. Ethan gave up writing and works a dead-end customer service job, still whining about the trust fund. A few months ago, he emailed, apologizing and asking to start over. I ignored it. That chapter's closed. My aunt's downfall is the sweetest part. She spent years making me feel small, always exalting Lily. She thought Ethan was her big win, but now she's broke, with no safety net. Lily's trapped with a man she barely tolerates. Recently, my mom said my aunt tried reconciling with the family, claiming she only wanted Lily's happiness. My grandparents weren't having it. They told her to make things right with me or stay cut off. Lily's reportedly looking into divorce lawyers, finally seeing Ethan for who he is. She knew what she was signing up for, my mom said, chuckling. That call felt like the final piece of closure. For so long, I was the bitter one, the fool who lost Ethan. But now the truth is clear. They built their lives on lies and are paying the price. Meanwhile, I'm thriving with a career, partner, and life I love. Looking back, that awful day my aunt delivered the wedding invitation felt like the end. I was broken, betrayed, hopeless. But Ethan's betrayal set me free. Without it, I might still be stuck, carrying his weight. Now, I'm living for me. The lesson? Karma's real. It may take time, but choices catch up. My aunt, Lily, and Ethan tried to break me, but they broke themselves. While they're stuck in their chaos, I'm free, happier than ever, and living my best life. To anyone facing similar pain, it gets better. The hurt fades, and you'll find your peace.